Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Kimball here. You're the CEO of IVP, which is a different model for caring for animals. You have this employee-owned model that I think, elevates the way that animals are taken care of, that they're treated. It's becoming this really popular model in the category. It's something that you've helped bring to the forefront. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story and what you're building.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me. It is a bit of a different model. I've got about 15 years in this space and really had the good fortune of working for one of the largest providers in this space and helped open a lot of hospitals during that time. And in addition to that sort of family owned model that the largest owner in our space operates under, there are quite a few private equity backed investment groups that are in the space. Consolidation's been ripe for the last 12 years or so, or 15 years or so. And those are wonderful models. The thing that we were really excited about was the opportunity to have a different way of taking care of veterinary professionals by giving them what I like to refer to as a bite of the apple. They should have wealth building potential in the industry they're passionate about. And so we very early on decided we wanted to go public early in our gestation, have an employee stock ownership plan that will turn on soon to give everybody working in our clinics an opportunity to be an owner and do ownership in a different way. So that was really central to our purpose.
So, can you just talk a bit about your background with animal care? How did you get interested in this as a career personally? Like what was that like for you? Just growing up in your relationship with animals. Like, how did this evolve towards the business from just caring about animals?
Thank you. Yeah, sure. So prior to being in vet med as a layperson, I always want to be clear, you wouldn't want me doing spays or neuters on your pets. That would not go well. I had probably, 20 some odd years in everything from digital communication, technology-based training, and then a lot of corporate leadership, high growth companies, the good fortune to open a lot of units, build a lot of leaders, work in some other sectors. And around 15 years or so, came to vet med and learned very quickly the growth potential of this industry, the wonderful track record it's got, really all over the world. But if you look at North American growth patterns and where we are going with pets and our love for them, we're buying Halloween costumes this time of year for them. We lavish them. And so I love the fact that the growth momentum of this industry seems to, decade after decade, be this nonstop wonderful journey that the industry's been on, driven by the science and the ability for us to take better care of pets. I've been a pet owner most of my life, and we love them. And my wife and my daughters and I are sort of, the house is built around our two dogs. They're sort of central to our existence. But my knowledge of pets and how to take care of them was so minuscule before I got to know some of the learnings and the knowledge and the education that we're giving pet owners today that we didn't have 10, 15 years ago around preventative care and keeping them in our lives longer, which we know scientifically improves our lives as humans. And so it's a mission-driven profession that drew me to it, and I got very protective over the professionals in the space and wanted to work in this space for years to come.
hmm So you just touched on an interesting point I did want to discuss, like the benefits of having a pet. I mean, obviously, there's this emotional connection that you get from having a pet, but you're saying that it also just increases, increases your well-being. I think even lifespan as well. So there's really a lot of studies done on this, and I mean, can you just kind of expand upon that and the benefits?
Yeah, I think the data is out there, and I know there's a number of groups, both industry centric and outside this industry, where we look at pets being in our lives add to the life expectancy, the life enjoyment, the health and well-being of us as humans and their counterparts. We know that therapy animals are a wonderful benefit to those that are going through recovery from health conditions, we see them in operating rooms or recovery rooms after surgeries for their pet owners, and that they bring a comfort to their human counterparts. And the interesting that I find as a layperson working in this industry for almost 2 decades is we've now got enough data to show that as preventive care has become the norm for pets and we're extending their life expectancy, we know that taking good care of them through annual exams, much like we should do as humans, extends that pet life. And so if we can make them live longer, healthier, they contribute positively to our lives, that's just a nexus that's really wonderful for both of us.
hmm So how did you get involved in IVP? Like, what was the way you kind of got into it, and what was that experience like just starting out?
After about 8 years of working for the Mars Group, which owns Banfield and VCA and a number of other holdings in the pet space, and a wonderful journey of learning and seeing this industry. I was sort of looking outside those walls and deciding what was next for me, and decided for wonderful, good, and healthy reasons that working with a private equity group just to buy and flip hospitals, which is something of the norm and consolidation models out there, did not feel like the right next step for me. I wanted to be a part of something that was different and try to create an ownership model that was different in our space. Had some co-founders that felt the same way. It's been almost 5 years ago now that we sat and sort of said, what would a different kind of company look like in terms of the shared ownership and acknowledgement of the challenges of the profession and how we want to solve for them, a long-term outlook toward ownership versus very short-term 3 to 5 year recap strategies, which did not feel restorative to us. And out of that, Inspire was born. And we founded it almost 5 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's not a long time considering the amount of impact you've already had in this space.
Yeah, it's been a blisteringly fast time to do some of the stuff we've done, which is both a wonderful thing, and it certainly has its challenges. Being a small micro cap company in the public space is not easy, and the peers that we have in that space in various industries will tell you the same thing. And it's also been quite an interesting time in the public markets the last 2 to 5 years. So we're proud that we got out, and we are working as a Nasdaq listed company and leveraging those benefits. It means every day, for me, sitting in my seat, I've sort of got two main jobs. It's managing the public aspect of who we are. It's also managing the growth path and the leadership development and the strategic growth of the company itself. And so it really creates two layers that feed off of each other, but in some ways are very separate from one another. So it's been a wonderful blessing, and it means that days are not boring for us. That's for sure.
That's good. How do you think about scaling the model? Like, how have you designed the in-person experience to just scale and scale efficiently?
Yeah, so we will continue to grow through acquisition of existing hospitals. So in that way, we're not unlike other consolidators where we purchase existing clinics, and that'll continue to be a growth engine for us. And we're successfully doing that. We've got a track record of doing that. We've got a team that understands how to integrate existing teams, and that's a wonderful business model. We will also and have begun, and we will be showing in months and quarters and years to come that there are other verticals in this space that a group like ours can be a part of, and some that we're very intent on being a part of. So there will be other ways in which we will continue to grow and contribute to this space through operating and having some business verticals that are outside just the purchase of a hospital. And then the third aspect, and I think a lot of companies are looking at this, and I've been very proud of the fact that early on we decided to be very sort of forward leaning in how we protect the traditional aspects of vet med, which is a relationship driven, doctor to pet owner, knowledge and education driven sort of traditional business, with some technologies that allow us to magnify the impact of our industry and start to utilize everything from, we look at telehealth, we look at virtual health, look at online, we look at the lessons we learned through the pandemic. There are ways in which we can magnify the impact of the space and also critically make it easier for our clinicians to care for pets. And so there will be some other things we do in that space as the years to come, the years go on.
Have you been exploring a lot of like new technology and how it can improve the pet lives and like what does that even look like today?
Yeah, we have, and of course, for everyone in every industry right now, AI is the buzzword of the day, and everyone wants to look and see how AI will be transformative. We're leveraging AI in some of our workflows, and I would say more than testing it, we're piloting it, but we're doing so in a very careful way because I believe AI can bring efficiency and reduce some pain and frustration for our teams. But I don't want to believe it's a panacea for everything yet. I think
Yeah.
AI can be helpful. And I think every company that has multiple employees looks to say how do you scale your workforce and manage that labor expense. There's something to be said for protecting the expertise of the veterinary relationship. The technicians and doctors that take great care of pets cannot be replaced by a machine or a computer screen, and we don't want to do that. And so if we leverage things like AI and technology and things we have done like shared record systems and electronic medical records across all of our practices, the ability for us to see our practices from anywhere in the world and dial in and see a case and counsel with our hospitals and look at schedules and manage productivity. Very early on, we made some investments towards shared architectures so that we can grow and scale into that model. We want to do that in a way that leverages new technologies, but that we're careful not to look at technology as a solve for everything.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's definitely a good approach. When you think about just the model that you have, and how different the model is, like the employee ownership piece of this. Like, how have you structured that and made it, something that's also possible, that incentivizes investors and people, as a public company, to join in? And then, what has been the performance results because of that?
Yeah. So it's been sort of a 2 or 3 stage process as we sort of talk about where we are and where we'll go as a company. And the first stage of it was having a number of very knowledgeable veterinary professionals in the founder group that still steer and guide the company decisions and guide from an ownership perspective. And that has been the sort of seed of what it means to be employee centric and employee owned and employee minded. That we're not sort of camping in the space of veterinary medicine. We have a lot of folks, both lay people and doctors, that have been in this industry for a good portion of their careers. And so we care about the industry. So that's first, and that ownership and founder leadership being structured in VetMed. Next is the desire, as I spoke of, to have an ESOP program, which is designed, ready, board approved, and it's really turnkey. We'll turn that key very soon in our evolution as a company, that allows every single team member working a certain number of hours a week, no matter what their position is, no matter what their role is, to have ownership in the company. And that was something that is very, very near and dear to me. I had the good fortune of working for a company that did that early in my career, and I watched the transformative value of that. And so we can't wait to turn that on. And what that will equal is the manifestation of communication we already have in place with every team member working in our hospitals, that right now they see their KPIs and their growth goals and their metrics and their impact on pets, and their impact on lives. And they know that when we turn that on, they get to see that reflected in, hey, the company year over year, quarter over quarter is growing its value to shareholders. I'm one of those shareholders now. And so I care about the efficiency of something as simple as turning a light off, or something as simple as managing my schedule in an effective way to see the caseload I should be seeing, or delivering the highest quality medicine so our clients trust us. So we're already doing some things to tie those outcomes to what it means to be an owner and get monetary value from that. And so when we turn the ESOP program on, we've built some of those value systems and those links for folks to see them.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, even just thinking about the scale of that model, and how it will, help out these employees when, as more, as more of these locations are created. I wonder just how that will work and everything. Because if it's incentivizing people, I mean, just building that at scale, maybe it's complicated. I don't know. Have you thought about that a lot?
Well, it can be complicated, and we're blessed with a really knowledgeable team from HR leadership, ops leadership, and our support team that have built out the structure in such a way that it's going to generate a number, I think, values for Inspire and the teams. Certainly for Inspire, we have an altruistic reason to want our team members to own a piece of the company, because I believe shared ownership equals greater performance, because we all
Yeah.
care about what we're building. So that's one. Number two, beyond the altruism, is we want the competitive advantage as a company to hold great people in jobs they want to be in for longer. So if we
Right.
can employ that veterinarian for 1, 2, 5 years longer than the industry average, that's a competitive advantage for us. And a multi-year process of that veterinarian seeing, hey, I've got an option investment coming every year through these next number of years of my career, and I want to stay here because not only am I well compensated, not only do I have one of the most comprehensive benefits and time off policies of any company in the space, and I'm proud that we can say that, but now I've got ownership too. This ESOP program now allows me to calculate each year, hey, in the form of my options vesting, I'm able to build real wealth and pay off that school loan or make the down payment on the house and do those life-changing things that wealth should come from. And so it's really benefit for the company, for the consistency and stability of a team we want to build. And we hope, I'll say this in a humble way today, because we've got plans we have to execute and show that our hypothesis is correct. Show this industry there's a different way to compensate a group of folks that are passionate about working in it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's exciting what you're doing with this model. It's definitely very different from
Yeah, I
what's
hope so.
in the industry abroad. Um, just running a company that's public. I mean, what's that experience been like for you?
Well, if you see my gray hair, that's starting to show up a lot more in my head. At least I'm still keeping some of it up there. It's been an honor. It's been a joy. It certainly comes with some of the feeling of accomplishment that we spoke of a moment ago. That, if you look at, I think if my numbers are still correct, somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 public companies in the U.S. period across all exchanges. We're one of a very small group of companies when you look at industry as a whole in our country. So that is a source of pride for us. And the fact that we accomplished something that a lot of companies are trying and have tried to do. It isn't easy, certainly in our sort of complex world and in the ways the markets have behaved the last 2 to 5 years. It's also not easy being a company our size doing it as early as we did, but there were reasons why we did it this early, and those come with some advantages and benefits. So, what I would tell you, the last 2+ years since we've actually been out and been public, the lessons we've learned and the choices we made and the constituency and really smart, well-meaning, mission-driven folks we have from the board and our entire leadership team that we collectively get to make decisions with. We are much smarter, stronger, and continue to be agile over these last 2 years. And what it's allowed us to do is just continue to leverage those learnings to make great decisions on behalf of the company and the shareholder.
Yeah, I did want to ask about that. Like, why did you do it so early? Was it just for capital specifically?
Yeah, if you think about a company like ours and many others, when you take on early seed money, what is the benefit you want to give those early seed investors? What is the right way to transition from that into the next sort of round of investing? What does that mean in terms of control and multiples that folks expect, or the return they want to see and the return windows they want to see? We also looked at sort of the tapestry of what was happening in the markets and also what was happening in our industry and other companies for whom a public move might have been the next recap event for that. And we certainly didn't set out in our timing to say, hey, let's go be the only one out there. If we look back at VCA before Mosh took them private again, they were the only multi-unit company that was public back in the day. And we went through a period where there were no multi-unit ownership, multi-unit operating companies out there that were publicly traded. And so we beat some other companies to the punch, some that are many times our size that wanted to make that their next move. But doing it early gave us the ability to give some benefit to some early investors to sort of reach that horizon and catapult from that into the next phase of growth. And so it was the right time for us to do it, even with the learnings and the bumps and bruises that come along the way from doing it so quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more responsibility, but the access to the public markets is so valuable, and having that and having the capital from there is, I mean, could make it or break it for you as a young company.
Absolutely, yeah. And we built a ton of relationships in just 2.5 years of being out. Some really wonderful partners and folks that have educated us, that have benefited us, and they've benefited from us and the work we've done. And to your point, we wouldn't have had access to some of those resources, the capital, the relationships in the private only space. And so it's been really beneficial to us.
Kimball, how did you effectively market the public listing?
It was quite well, it was a long process of getting out, all the process that one must go through with the SEC, but the marketing and the syndication and the build of the offering was pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And we benefited from a pretty closely held group of companies that came together to sort of put it out there and do roadshow activity and some other stuff that got us out there. And the reason, as I asked that question, I sort of go and ruminate on that a little bit, is I think if there's anything we could have done better during that time, we were trying to sort of, looking at market trends, beat, we didn't want to take too long getting out and miss our window. If I had anything to do all over again, maybe a handful of months more to market us, get more market awareness, get folks recognizing, some more aspects of this sector and why we're so passionate about it. What we've done in the 2 years after, I think, has been a really wonderful job of telling that story after. We've got a lot of folks out there, and thankfully we punch above our weight class in terms of awareness of our size company in the marketplace, because we do get to sort of hold the flag for VetMed and be a company that's representing it in the public space now.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in general, too, there aren't really that many vet companies that are public.
No, I mean, if you look at some of the lab companies and some of the scientific companies that are out there, there are a few pubcos in that space. You think of Chewy as one of the innovators in sort of online, direct to consumer, and of course they've benefited very much from their public move. But it's a handful. It's not a lot in an industry that's, depending on which white paper you read, $45 to $50 million of revenue per year. It's a pretty large space.
Yeah. So what's the roadmap now for you? What are you most focused on?
Growth will continue to occur in the form of more acquisitions, as I mentioned earlier. You'll see us diversify and continue to innovate into some new verticals and some things we haven't done yet that are really some beneficial, additional business types, some complementary business flows that complement our existing hospitals and leverage the fact we've got a really wonderful veterinary knowledge base within our operating team. Again, as I said before, we're not sort of short-term comers to the veterinary industry. We've got some folks that have done some stuff in this space. We're going to leverage those skill sets to go into some new growth verticals. And then we'll start to, as we scale, look at a year or two and 3 and 5 from now. If you think about what most of the veterinary consolidators do in this space with a private equity backing, and they're looking to change out funds and recap every 3 to 5 years, and they want to sell those and flip those holdings, we will be in a position, and we will look forward to making relationships so that we become an exit for some of those multi-unit groups that want to sell and leave the space. And so looking forward to growing by not the single unit or the two at a time acquisition sort of mentality, but how can we be a multi-unit acquirer of other space and be an exit platform for some of them?
It's just much lower cost and easier to acquire than build out new.
I think so. Yeah. Look, I've got a ton of friends and leaders in this space that have watched the industry within their respective companies they work with, and we've certainly watched them and the number of groups that are doing de novo as part of their strategy or are totally focused on de novo growth. From my humble perspective, I think the amount of money that you spend to build out a branded strategy, the amount of money you spend to acquire that client and build a client base and then get to profitability, there are benefits, let's put it that way, to buying the businesses that are already generating and have that client relationship and maybe 10, 15, 20 years of community relationship. It's not the only way to grow an industry, though. So sort of a mixed portfolio is a good approach. But for us, it's been much more beneficial for us to look at the existing clinic when it comes to those types of acquisitions. As I said, there'll be other verticals we go into. And who's to say de novo won't be a part of our strategy, but that's one I think you've got to take a real careful look at because the upfront cost in our space, it's a little different than throwing the doors open and you can serve a product to a client that's readily there. The cost to acquire a client and build that patient client relationship takes time. And so de novo is a little bit of a longer run path.
Interesting. Well, Kimball, that was all the questions that I had. I appreciate taking that time and doing this. I think it's amazing what you've been able to build in, I think you said 5 years. I mean, that's not a long time to have a new model that the industry is really respecting and that's produced some incredible results. And I see how you're going to continue to scale this. So I'm excited to watch that journey happen and what's to come next. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.